Motorcycle Men.
Check 1, 2, 3, 4. Check, check, check. Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to episode 156 of the Motorcycle Men podcast. I am Ted here in the V-Twin Cafe in the corner booth, naturally. Thank you for tuning in and listening to this show, and of course listening to all of the Motorcycle Men episodes. If you'd like to help out the show, you can go over to our website at motorcyclemen.us, and you can click on that big old donate button if you'd like to help us out with a singular PayPal donation, or you can also just give us some feedback. That's right. Go over to iTunes and give us a rating of any type. Doesn't matter. And while you're at it, go over to the website and you can give us some feedback there on the contact page, or you can email us at motomenpc@gmail.com. And we read all that email. So if you send us a good one, we'll read it on the show next time we do one. Okay. The Motorcycle Men podcast is brought to you by Surf and Summit Motorcycle, Maine and New Hampshire's newest motorcycle rental and tour company. Surf and Summit offers Harley-Davidson Big Twins and Suzuki V-Stroms for rent at reasonable prices. Surf and Summit is happy to deliver your rental bike wherever you are staying, or you can peruse the bikes in person at Street Cycles of Falmouth, Maine. Surf and Summit also offers rental helmets, jackets, gloves, and GPS, so you'll have everything you need to enjoy great New England riding. From the beautifully rugged coast of Maine to the amazing White Mountains of New Hampshire, Surf and Summit can help you have a fantastic motorcycling vacation. For more information, please visit surfandsummitmotorcycle.com. Motorcycle Men is also sponsored by Cycle Gear. For all of your cycle needs, from clothing to parts, Cycle Gear is your premier one-stop shopping location. And with 136 stores nationwide, you are bound to find a store near you to help you find what you're looking for. And you can trust in receiving great pricing and, of course, top-notch customer care. If you're in New Jersey, be sure to stop in at the Edison store and see Chainsaw Ginny or Sean and tell them that the Motorcycle Men sent you. So go to cyclegear.com today. And for the best in motorcycle riding jeans, there is only one place you should be going, and that is Tobacco Motorwear Company. Dave and the crew over there make motorcycle riding jeans that will outperform that ratty old pair you have been wearing and most other brands available. Not only do they perform well, but they also are the best looking and the most comfortable selvedge jeans you will ever wear or own. And for further protection and style, get yourself a California riding shirt. Comfortable, safe, and it is a stunning looking shirt. I wear a pair of Tobacco riding jeans and the California riding shirt, and so does brother Chris. That's Joker here on the podcast. He also wears one of the California riding shirts as well. Chris has got the black one, and I've got the brown one. Great, great looking shirt. They feel good, they look great, and they give me that extra security when riding that I want from my gear. Tobacco Motorwear Company. Visit them at tobaccomotorwear.com and tell Dave that the Motorcycle Men sent you. Use that coupon code MotorcycleMen when ordering. Now, multiple sclerosis is a debilitating disease that strikes millions of people around the world. And for many, the realization that there is something you can do about it often comes too late. For others, it is a lifelong battle that can beat down the strongest to their knees. But there is a way to live with it and combat it and live a normal life to a point. My guest tonight has used the motorcycle to be his therapy on a long road to a more comfortable life with MS. Paul Pelland, a.k.a. Long Haul Paul, joins me in the V-Twin Cafe to tell us his story. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this episode 156 of the Motorcycle Men podcast. Joining me here tonight in the corner booth at the V-Twin Cafe, all the way from, where are you right now?
I am in Londonderry, New Hampshire.
Londonderry, New Hampshire, Mr. Paul Pelland, a.k.a. Long Haul Paul. Paul, welcome to the Motorcycle Men podcast.
Well, thank you very much, Ted.
I am glad you are here. I first heard about you on the Motorcycles and Misfits podcast, and then I saw some of your posts, and I said, I got to have this guy on to tell us all about his story. So why don't you tell us about Long Haul Paul and a little bit about yourself?
Sure, thanks. Well, I've been riding motorcycles probably about 30 years.
That's all?
And that's all,
Okay.
yeah. And probably really been riding motorcycles for about 20. And what I say is consider riding is doing long distance traveling. Back in the turn of the century, I guess I became involved with the Iron Butt Association.
Ooh.
And I started entering rallies, and I entered quite a few rallies in a short period of time. And I was the type of guy who would enter on something a little bit different than everybody else, or attempt to do different things, whatever it took to get the points and to get a podium finish. So I became Long Haul Paul back then, and the name kind of has stuck. Going back a few years. I mean, it's.
As I understand it, because we had this conversation very briefly once before, if folks are looking for you, they shouldn't look for Long Haul Paul, 3 separate words. It's Long Haul Paul, 1 word. Otherwise, they'll get some country singer, correct?
Country singer or a porn site.
Well, we can't have that. So why don't you tell us a little bit about Chasing the Cure and what's that all about, and how long have you been doing that?
I'm sure. Back in 2003, actually during the 2003 Iron Butt Rally, I actually experienced some weakness and loss of dexterity in my hands, and eventually I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis.
Oh, geez, really?
At that point, I had just become a single dad, and I was trying to raise a couple of kids. I had this newly diagnosis, and I really thought my riding days were over. So I gave up riding, sold the bikes, bought myself a little convertible, and tried to deal with life. And getting diagnosed with MS, I really thought that I'd be in a wheelchair, within a few years, and I kind of had that thought for a good 6 or 7 years before I realized that I was doing okay. I got on treatment for MS, and I had some issues, but I decided to start riding again. And shortly after that is when I decided that I wanted to give back to the MS community and try to raise awareness, raise some money, and that's when I came up with this Chasing the Cure. And my goal is to actually document 1 million miles by motorcycle.
Wow!
Riding to MS events or places where I am raising awareness about MS, raising money, doing some fundraising, and so that started. Well, we just hit 6 years.
No
that
kidding.
I've been doing.
Wow, that is fantastic. 6 years you've been doing that now. Yeah,
I starting to think I should have said 1 million kilometers, because I'd probably be halfway done by now.
Well, 1 million miles is I'm not going to say aggressive, but that's quite an achievement to get. And well, how far have you gone so far?
So far, I've ridden about 325,000 miles.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm about a third of the way through. I've worn out a couple of bikes, but I'm not just out riding circles around my house. I mean, my bike sometimes sits in the garage for a couple of weeks if I don't have a presentation I'm doing, or if I'm not in an event speaking about MS. All my miles really are, counted. The miles I count are all MS-related miles.
Okay, well, speaking of bikes, why don't you tell us what bikes have you been using for the event?
Well, when I first started with this great grand idea of riding 1 million miles, I figured I'd have all the manufacturers throwing motorcycles at me left and right.
You would think.
Yeah, but I soon learned that's not the case. I think Triumph is the only manufacturer that actually even responded to one of my emails.
Oh,
But
wow.
after a while, I realized that they don't give away bikes very easily. So I decided to find a motorcycle that really wouldn't need any factory support, something that would be durable and that I could really ride the heck out of.
Hmm.
And I decided on purchasing a Yamaha Super Tenere.
Ah, I know some people who'd be very happy to hear that.
Yeah, I bought the bike new in it was a 2012 model. I bought it as a leftover in 13, and I had that first Super Tenere for I believe 3.5 years. That was really the first bike I started the million miles on, and
Right.
by the time I parked it, it had 172,000 miles on it, and I'd never actually even washed it. Um, I
It's
just
okay.
just got to a point where
You were
why
busy.
bother?
Right.
I also didn't really do any of the service it was required on the that the manufacturer expected, other than oil changes and tires when I could see the cords coming through. I went through about 12 sets of tires a year
Really?
those
But
3 years.
little tip though, you might want to wait until get your tires before you see the cords.
Well, sometimes I'm on the other side of the country, and it's not that easy to find tires, and somebody's mount them in the last minute. So,
That's true. So it was it the Super 10 the entire time?
so I had the first Super Tenere after it had about 100,000 miles on it, and I have friends that they said, well, yeah, those are miles, but what you ride are Pelland miles. Those are a little bit different than normal miles. So after it had about 100,000 miles on it, started to have a few little issues with wiring and stuff like that. I'm in New England where we've got salt crusted everything for 6 months of the year.
Yeah, I know all about that.
Yeah, I don't stop, so I ride through the winter, and so I was starting to have some little issues here and there, and so I was able to convince Yamaha to give me a really good deal on a second Yamaha Super Tenere,
Oh, good.
and so I had the second Tenere set up with all my accessories and everything. Had it set up and waiting. So the first one ended up lasting a little bit longer than I thought, but it was getting tired, and it was it was well abused. So its last ride was actually I set a world record, and
Oh, you did? Do tell.
yes, I spend a lot of time on the road, so I think up these sort of oddball ideas. You say we say stupid crap, so you don't have to.
Right.
Well, I think up the stupid crap, so other people don't have to. So my idea was that I wanted to set a world record for riding the most hours in one calendar day.
Ooh. Okay.
So everybody thinks, 24 hours, right? And so no. Actually, if you start on the East Coast and you ride across all 4 time zones,
Oh, yeah.
the day you set the clocks back, you can actually ride 28 hours and never change the calendar.
Oh, ain't you slick?
So I rode 28 hours, 2,000 miles straight, nonstop, and I set a world record.
Wow. Well, congratulations, first of all. And I'm sure you had the people at Guinness scratching their heads on how to handle that one.
Yeah, Guinness doesn't really like any of my record attempts. So this one was certified and tracked by the Iron Butt Association.
All right.
So they certified it. Unfortunately, the motorcycle decided it didn't want to start the next day.
Oh,
It said, "I'm tired. Leave me here in wherever I was, Utah." So I did. That was the bike's last actual ride, and it eventually was towed down to Barber Motorsports, where it's on display now.
oh, really? That's fantastic.
Yeah, they said they wanted it, and so I had it sent there, and it's set up exactly as I wrote it with all my gear, and it still has coffee in my thermos on the side of the
Oh,
bike.
no.
And,
Does it really?
Yeah, yeah. It's one
Oh,
of the only bikes in the museum that doesn't run.
well, let me ask you this: how many miles on it did it have before it finally died?
172,000 on it.
No kidding. That's amazing. And that's just oil changes and tires. Pretty-
Yeah, I had visited the down in California at the Yamaha corporate headquarters, and they had come out to look at the bike, and they said, "Wow, that's incredible. Have you had to do any engine work?" And I said, "No." They said, "Well, any valve work?" I said, "It has valves?" They said, "Yeah." I said, "I've never checked them. I've never even taken the valve cover off that bike."
Oh, that is so funny. Oh my God. So, there's something to be said for no maintenance, I guess.
Yeah, I had people threaten that they were going to come and break into my house to wash my bike because it looked a little crusty here and there. But, to me, motorcycles are tools. They're hammers. And as long as they work, they're fine. If it stops working, I'm not afraid of throwing it in the woods and going to get another hammer because I don't have time.
I'll tell you what, the next time you decide to throw one of your hammers into the woods, let me know. I'll go get it for you. Oh, okay. So now what are you riding now? Is that since how you killed both of your Teneres, what are you attempting to kill now?
Well, actually, the second Tenere I have, it's only got 120,000 miles on it.
Oh, okay.
I rode that for the past year and a half. It's actually still in fine shape, but I was very lucky to get Yamaha to agree to help me out, and I actually sent the head of Yamaha a text last year when they introduced the new Star Venture.
Yes.
And, transcontinental, they were calling it, luxury, transcontinental tour. So I sent them a text and I said, "I know I might sound like the president when I say this, but I don't think anybody's more qualified than me to ride a transcontinental motorcycle."
And apparently they bought it, didn't they?
I said, "Let me be the face of trans for Yamaha." That didn't go over as well.
Right.
But yeah, so we talked about it back and forth, and I said, if you would have let me borrow one, let me see how many miles I can put on it in a year, and help support what I'm doing, and so they agreed, and
wow.
I about a month ago I just actually got myself a brand new Yamaha Star Venture Transcontinental.
Wow. No kidding. How do you like it?
I'll tell you, I wasn't sure, the change of seating position with the legs forward and things.
Right.
Wasn't sure how that would work for me, but I put 5,000 miles on it in 3 weeks. The past 3 weeks.
That's not shabby.
I'm heading down to Virginia tomorrow, and then over to Sturgis, and then back out to Duluth, all in the next 3 weeks. So I'll have 10,000 miles in about 6 weeks on it. I'm loving it. It's better than what I imagined.
Mm-hmm.
It's got all the creature comforts.
Mm-hmm.
My wife and I did a 3,000-mile trip down to Barber Motorsports,
Mm-hmm.
and the creature comforts for the passenger. The V-twin motor is real sweet. I mean, it's I really enjoy it. I can't wait till the winter because I do ride in 8-degree weather or 0-degree weather, and having all the venting and the ability to close off the wind protection and stuff is going to be just insanely.
Oh, sure. See, there's something to be said for cruisers now. Cruisers are good now, see?
I agree.
All those cruiser hitters out there.
I'm really loving it, and I can't wait to take it up to Alaska or something to show people I can still ride it wherever the heck I want to go.
Oh, yeah. Now, as far as goes for all the miles that you've done so far, were those planned miles, or that was just totally random?
No, they're pretty much. I do presentations for nonprofits. I also do a lot of talks for some pharmaceutical companies. They put on these free patient education events
right
all over the country, and they'll put up a slideshow about MS, and then there'll be a small presentation about a certain medication, and then they have a doctor speak, and then they have a patient kind of give their own take on their life with MS, and for me it's it's a way to help inspire people to, with me, I had given up riding motorcycles and I went back to it, and I realized I can't ride the way I used to. I can't compete in endurance competitions because I can't do the cognitive stuff.
Right.
I can ride. You could say, Paul, we need you in California in 3 days, and that's not a problem. But if I have to do any thinking along the way, I can't. So my message is to find something in life you love to do and to make it more important than your disease. I mean, it's that simple.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm not MS. They're not MS. If you look MS up in the dictionary, you're not going to see my picture.
Right.
And, tell them, don't make sure your picture doesn't make it there either. That's not who you are. Find who you are and be that person. And don't give MS the power over you. It's not easy every day, but if you take away the power of disease or chronic condition or illness, you take away the power, you'll find you can really improve your life a lot.
Oh, that's great. What would be some of the things that someone who is attending one of your speaking engagements, what is something that they might learn from one of those events?
Well, if it's an MS event, MS patients, I hope that they understand that we can do things despite the disease. That there's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of different medications that are really helping people, and there's a lot of support out there in the community for people that feel alone or feel depressed or whatever because of their disease. There is a lot of help out there, and that's the message I hope to give them. As far as when I do presentations at motorcycle events, I just did an event last week in Buffalo, a BMW owners group monthly meeting, and I did my presentation called "Also Ran," and it's hopefully it's entertaining because the story is quite unbelievable even to me. But it's my story of entering the Iron Butt Rally on a Russian Euro.
Oh, I think I want to hear that story.
It's a very good story. Most of it's true. The manufacturer even wrote me a letter saying that they didn't think nobody in their office thought their bike would even finish the rally. So it was one of those things where not sure why I did it, but now that I did it and finished the rally, I'm using that story to explain to motorcycle riders what life is like living with a chronic condition. The Euro, riding the Euro around the country and breaking down over 30 times in 11 days. I went through 3 engines. I made push rods in a hardware store. It was an incredible event, and the fact that I finished was really just amazing to me and everybody else in the event.
Oh my God! Well, yeah, the Ural was the chronic condition in this case.
Absolutely. But it's the rider. It's always the rider. It's the willpower that gets you over that finish line.
Oh, absolutely.
You don't have to come in first place to still be a winner and things like that. And that's a great message for the general public. I do that presentation all over the place. Where am I doing it next? Out in Duluth, I think, at the Aerostitch Rally. I'll be doing that presentation. But it's great. I mean, I broke down so many times that I was able to take pictures and notes, and so I really was able to recreate the whole story of what happened.
Oh, that's great. You can almost create a maintenance manual too, as for a Ural.
But it's funny, a story that happened in 2001, so that's 17 years ago.
Yeah.
Way before I had MS, it's a story that I'm able to use across all audiences because people understand a piece of crap motorcycle in an endurance competition just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, of course not. So what has been the reaction and the reception from people when they learn about you and what you are doing, and how has that affected your support for the cause?
So I think, especially riders, motorcycle community is a very giving community. And I think that when people hear my story or, I am at all the motorcycle events, all the IMS events, all the AIM, and a lot of the bigger, Sturgis and Laconia and Daytona. I'm there now with Yamaha under their tent, and people come up to me and they see my bike and they learn about what I'm doing. They don't always realize that I am a patient. I have MS because I'm doing pretty well. I look good, and I don't really put it out there. But I think when they find that out, that I'm riding a million miles, trying to raise money and that, but I also have MS. I think that really hits them. And so many families and so many people that I meet have a family member with MS, a relative that or a friend that has been touched by the disease. So I think it hits home, and I think they realize that I'm sincere, and I hope that they follow me and help me along my journey, because it means a lot to me for people to tag along and ride with me, whether it's at home or at events.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, we'll give everybody your contact information toward the end of the interview. So as far as it goes for the MS itself, what kind of challenge for you personally has that been for you on the bike?
Well, most of my issues are cognitive. So I was diagnosed. I had some weakness and loss of dexterity, some burning issues and numbness and things. But it was actually my memory that was failing me that drove me to get diagnosed. I actually was in a convenience store, and I had to introduce somebody. I saw somebody I knew from Scouts, and I had to introduce them to my fiance, and I looked at my fiance and to offer her name, and I couldn't recall my fiance's name.
Yeah, that's bad.
So that's pretty bad, yeah. And that's when it really hit me that something was really wrong. I mean, I didn't know if I had Alzheimer's or what, but I knew something was wrong, and that's what drove me. And so the cognitive stuff has really been my biggest issue. I was in a parking garage today in Boston with my wife with a GPS, and if she wasn't with me, I would never have been able to get out of the parking garage because I get really confused and I don't trust the GPS and I get lost a lot. I have no sense of direction anymore. I can't remember. If you tell me, go down this road, drive 7,000 miles on this road and take a left, I'll look at those directions every 10 miles for 7,000 miles, and still when I get to the end, I'll say, was it left or right?
Wow.
My brain doesn't hold the information, so I can't read a book because every night I don't remember what I had read the previous couple of nights. It's an interesting thing.
No, I can imagine.
But riding the motorcycle, the cognitive stuff. The other thing that affects me is heat. Mm-hmm. So if I get warm, my body temperature goes up even by a half a degree or so. Any issues I've had in the past, the MS symptoms come back. So I can get a weak leg. I can have trouble speaking. I can have all sorts of issues just that are caused by being overheated. So I have to be very careful about the heat. Those are really the main things. If I can stay cool and I can use assistive technology to make sure I know where I'm going and be able to follow my GPSs and notes on my phone and things like that, I do okay.
Well, there's a company out there called Entrosys, and they make a motorcycle AC system. It's kind of it plugs into a suit that you would wear that would keep you actually cool. I don't know if you've heard of that.
What was the name again?
Entrosys, ENTROSYS, bike air motorcycle AC system.
I've heard that one. I've actually been a prototype tester for a couple of companies. The CTC 1000, 100, sorry. I was the first tester for that. I put 50,000 miles on one of their units.
Oh, wow. How'd that work for you?
It worked great, but that was the prototype. When it went to production, the production model wasn't quite as robust.
Oh, really? Oh, that's a shame. I know there's a couple other companies that make a thing called a Cool Vest. And there's another company called Cool R that's kind of like a it's like an active wear kind of a shirt that actually keeps you cool. I don't know if you've heard of those.
Yeah, I think there's quite a few different
Yeah.
products. I mean, I have one of those big chest coolers that you fill with ice, and it pumps through the vest.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I've tried a bunch of different things. The problem with me is, on the Teneres, I had 12 gallons of gas, and I stop every 6 or 7 hours. And by then, the ice is melted, and I'm tired, and I forget to get ice when I get gas. And then I've got this big cooler on the back that's pumping warm water, and I need a system that's thoughtless.
I understand. So does the MS at all interfere with your motor functions at all?
The only time it will is if I get overheated.
Oh, okay.
I've had issues where I can't feel my leg, or I lose strength in my legs sometimes, or knees if I'm really overheated. So it's paying attention to my body temperature and recognizing the symptoms that you're starting to get a little slow in the head and time to get a hotel. I'm doing pretty well with managing that.
Okay.
And staying cool.
Well, now that you've moved from the Tenere to the Venture, your comfort level has obviously been raised dramatically. How does that made it easier for you?
Well, I mean, it's a big V twin. It's air cooled, so there is some heat in traffic. I coming back from Birmingham, my wife and I, it was 95 degrees. We're in New Jersey traffic.
Oh, you have to tell me about that. I live through that every day.
Friday about 4 o'clock. So, we sat for about 2 hours and maybe went 5 miles and Connecticut. And I ended up just getting off. It was just hot.
Where in New Jersey were you?
Oh, I don't know. Probably coming up 95.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's bad.
Or the Jersey Turnpike, I think. Yeah, it was just, we just, we left.
Not a place you want to be at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
No, I think we left
at all.
Virginia, and then, it was a 800-mile day to begin with, so it was warm, and I think any motorcycle in traffic that's the tough spot. Once you get a little bit of air moving, everything's fine.
Oh,
but,
sure.
It was a bit warm, but again, my wife's with me, and she knows my condition, and I said, I can't do this for another hour or so. I said, let's just get off the highway and point north, and we'll eventually find our way through Massachusetts and New Hampshire. We'll make it home sometime tonight.
Now, was she on you on the bike on the Tenere with you also?
She rode. I mean, none of the long trips that I do. I'm always by myself.
Right.
I mean, it's business. I'm literally have gone from New Hampshire to California in 50 hours, and I've done it 8 or 10 times a year.
Wow.
I don't really have the money to spend 6 nights hotels or anything else, so it's try to put in a 15 or 18-hour day, get a quick 4 or 5 hours sleep, get back on the bike, and get going again. I don't stop. It's I either got to be home to do something else, or I just don't have the funds to really make it a fun trip. It's business. I'm working. This is my business. So.
I understand. So now you've acquired some great sponsors on this so far by going through your website. How supportive have they been?
Well, from the beginning, like Twisted Throttle. In fact, the reason I bought a Super Tenere, I was looking at the Tenere and I was looking at the FJR, both Yamaha products, because I knew the reputation for durability. And Twisted Throttle says, hey, if you buy the Super Tenere, we make a million things for that bike. We'll give you everything we make for it. We'll set it up for you. So
that was great.
Yeah, that was a no-brainer there. So yeah, they from the beginning, Twisted Throttle's been there supporting me. Bridgestone Tires jumped on shortly after that. Aerostitch has been providing me with all my gear, and I wear stuff out. I break everything. You give me.
Just so.
I wear out everything. So, my gear's important and it has to work. I'm sometimes away from home for 3-4 weeks at a time, and I'm on the road. I'm not sitting in a hotel for 3 or 4 days. I'm on the road at 5 a.m. at the latest, and I get off at 8 or 9 o'clock at night. all my stuff has to work. My bikes can't be in a shop being worked on. I've got to, I really got to depend on everything to get to where I need to be.
Yeah.
So, the gear sponsors, and then of course, Yamaha just jumped on board. They actually just sent a press release, a national press release, and officially sponsoring me with the new bike, and they're going to help me get to some of the events that they put on over the course of the year, and they really want me to ride the hell out of it.
Yeah, I can see why.
And tell people what I think, and that's what I did with the Tenere. I mean, if you go through my website, you'll find places where I had issues or broke down, or I think I only broke down once, but it was the bike had been making noise for about 30,000 miles before I decided to do something about the noise. Most people would have put their flashes on and drove it right to the dealer. I drove another 3 months and 30,000 miles, but it sounded like a Ducati. And
30,000 miles, and they said, I should get that looked at.
Yeah, well, you'd be surprised some of the things I did to that poor bike.
Well, why don't you tell us about some of the places that you've been to? I'm going through your website. I noticed you were in Africa for a while.
Yeah, that was not much. Well, not a long while, but it was a fun while. Yeah, I got a call from Bridgestone Tires, and they said, "Hey, we're sending a bunch of moto journalists over to Morocco to introduce the new adventure tire, the A41 and the T31.
Right.
We'd like you to come along." I said, "Well, is this? Am I the entertainment, or am I the?" When they said, "No, we think that you're kind of an influencer in the social media circle," and then they said, "Well, quite frankly, you wear out more of these tires than any single person we know." So we did. I went to Africa, and we rode for a couple of days in the dirt with the dirt tires, and then on the street, and it was amazing. It was incredible.
Now, did you rode one of their bikes on this trip?
Yeah, they had a bunch of different bikes you could take, and I rode one of the Honda Africa Twins. I rode a Duke, not a Duke. It was the Adventure 1290 Adventure KTM.
Oh, really?
And then I rode a Suzuki something, a green bike. Oh, maybe it was Kawasaki. I'm sorry, what was it, 650? Anyway, but yeah, so I tried a bunch of different bikes, and I'll tell you, riding around the countryside with a bunch of professional moto journalists was quite exhilarating.
I can bet, yeah.
The people leading the rides were well versed on the
Well, with the, as far as goes for the adventure riding, being off-road and having to deal with MS, was there a significant challenge there now that you're in a totally different environment?
Because I really wasn't, I mean, we were following in a group, so I didn't have to worry about the getting lost or anything like that. The temperatures were great, 75 to 80 is what it was back in March. So the heat was, there was a couple of days where I got a little warm, and, I probably couldn't have held a really smart conversation, but I was still functioning okay. So no, it didn't affect me. Actually, the worst part of the whole trip was I got really confused in the airports and things, not just with the, the language barriers, but in places like that, I do get confused, and somebody tells me what to do, and I start going to do it, and then I forgot what they said, so I have to go back and ask them again, and I look like a real idiot. That was the hardest part of it, was the transportation part of it, because of course I don't fly. Even in the United States, I never fly. Everywhere I'm sent, I only ride the bike. If I can't ride, I'll stay home.
Okay, that's understandable. I would do the same thing, most cases anyway. Tell us now. For years, I have been participating in MS fundraising events. Here in New Jersey, we have the MS Coast to Coast Bike Event, which is a 170-mile bike event where we raise money for MS. I've been doing that for 15 years. Been doing that for 15 years now. So one of the things that I've learned from doing that is I would meet many people on the ride who indeed had MS, and they were telling me the story where they were always told by their doctors, don't do anything. How do I combat this? You can't just live with it and go about your life. Do not exert yourself. But then they found out, this one particular case, this one woman told me that her daughter asked her to go for a bike ride with her around the block. And when she did that, she felt better afterwards. So she continued to do it. Now it's coming to learn that, yes, a lot of activity, even strenuous activity, really is great in combating the disease. So this brings me to moto medicine. How has that been a driving force for you as well?
Sure. When I first realized, actually before I had MS, when I started riding long distances, it was actually because of a bad marriage, a boggled divorce, and then a huge custody ordeal for 10 years. And that's when I learned about the healing power of the motorcycle, getting on that bike,
sure, and
just riding until the pain went away. And, sometimes I rode to Chicago before the pain went away, and was able to turn around and go back and face whatever was going on. I didn't know it at the time, but when I got MS and I started riding again, doing this million-mile journey, it's when it really dawned on me that I'm feeling better. My health is improving. Mm-hmm. On medication and everything else, but doing something I love, and the act of riding a motorcycle in itself, I believe, is therapeutic, and I think that it can be used for lots of different diseases and conditions. When you ride a motorcycle, your whole body is involved in what you're doing, and your mind is focused, and you're using parts of your brain that you don't use driving a car. And it's even been proven that memory can improve riding a motorcycle. The more you ride a motorcycle, it improves your memory. And I actually had my doctor write me a prescription to ride my motorcycle up to 12 hours per day as needed.
No kidding. Wow.
Symptoms of my... Now I can't get my insurance company to pay for it, but yeah, I do enjoy toting my prescription around at bike rallies and things. But I believe that riding a motorcycle has actually helped improve my health, my overall being, and mental wellness. And I think it can be used for lots of things. And I think the more you do it, the fact that I ride, an average of I don't even know, 1,500, 1,800 miles, on average over the year, every week. I'm putting in, 5 or 6 hours per day, 365 days a year on average, of riding. And I think that the more I do it, the better my disease. I haven't had an MS attack since 2007.
That's amazing. That's really, really wonderful.
No progression in my disease. I feel better. I do work out. One of the things I started doing is pushing myself to go to the gym. And yes, when I do, small amounts of lifting or on the treadmill or that type of thing, I get wiped out. I mean, I feel like I've run the Boston Marathon, but it's temporary. Right. And I used to think that was a permanent problem, that you wipe. Like I can't ride my motorcycle to the gym because I'd never be able to ride it home. I'm pretty tired. I'm wiped out. I'm barely able to drive. But 2 hours later, after sitting in the lazy boy at home, I can recoup, and then by the end of the day or the next day, I feel a difference from working out. So, we certainly can work out, and I believe it does improve the health also. Trying to stay active.
Well, on your website, you have here, take one ride up to 8 hours per day as needed for symptom relief. Apply liberally, frequently, and refill tank as needed.
That is exactly what's on my prescription.
That is amazing. I think everybody could benefit from this sort of thing. And I like the T-shirt that's available. Can people get this T-shirt? It says, if I'm off my bike, I'm off my meds.
Yeah, I have a bunch of different T-shirts I've designed, some with the Motor Medicine logo, some with the one of my followers hashtag the Go Paul Go thing, and that's kind of
I see that, yes.
yeah, that's all over the place. So I have T-shirts with that, and yeah, you can go, if you go to my website, you can click on I think get a T-shirt or something, and it'll take you to a third-party store that sells all my T-shirts. And every T-shirt sale, basically puts another 100 miles, gives me funds to put another 100 miles into my million-mile journey. So the shirts, hopefully you like them, but also they do help me along my journey.
Oh, absolutely. That's fantastic. I think I'm going to be getting one of them. If I can, I just tell my wife, look, see, if I'm not on my bike, I'm off my meds, and I'll forget things. So, tell me about the MS 5000.
Sure. The MS 5000 is an idea I came up with. I think now this is our 5th year. And what it is, basically, originally it was 50 days, and riders enter and they try to ride their motorcycle on their own. They try to ride up to 5,000 miles over 50 days. Well, a lot of people thought that they had to do the full 5,000 miles, and so they weren't signing up. And I changed the rules a bit, so it's the MS 5000, and you need riders enter, and over the course of 50 days, and this starts in
September 1st through October 20th.
Thank you. So you sign up, and basically it's like the MS Walk, except for bikers, not hikers. So you get your family and friends to donate in your name, and you get 1 point for every mile that you ride, and you get 10 points for every dollar you raise.
Okay.
So people donate in your name. If you raise $100, you get 1,000 points.
Okay.
And you try to do a combination of miles and fundraising to reach at least 5,000 points. Most riders will reach that, and there's some that have gone up into the 25,000, 30,000 points. And of course, there's prizes and certificates and things for the top riders and people that finish. But obviously, the idea is to raise money for MS. And to date, we've raised, I think, $107,000. The MS 5000, $107,000 for MS. And this year, the money is going to an organization that I just partnered with called MS Views and News. And this is an organization that puts on patient programs, and we're going to be putting on patient education programs and services in rural parts of America where the drug companies are not getting in and doing their programs because it's just too difficult. So we're going to be putting on patient programs where we're delivering education, information, education, inspiration, and hope to some of these people that are living their lives with MS.
Right. Now, as far as goes for the MS 5000, is there a minimum that folks have to raise to participate?
There is. There's an entry fee. I think is $30. $30 gives you a T-shirt, a decal for your bike, and it pays for the event. The prizes and things like that. And then to raise money, it all goes through a central donation link, but your name is picked. That type of thing. There's a minimum. Each rider has to raise a minimum of $100.
Okay.
To be a finisher. I mean, if they don't finish, they don't finish. But yeah, we do ask people to at least raise $100 to make it worth it. And that's been pretty reasonable for. We have guys that have raised $8,000 themselves.
Wow.
The majority of people are somewhere around $300 or $400, which is great. Obviously every dollar counts. Mm-hmm. And I'm excited about this year. This is the first year we do it in the fall. I've always done it in the spring, and a lot of people have complained about the cold weather, and so now we're doing it in the early fall. So there shouldn't be any excuses.
No, that's actually perfect because you're on the East Coast. You're up in like you said earlier. You're in, where'd you say you were? Connecticut. Right.
And my wife lives in New Hampshire.
Right. So, here on the East Coast, like I'm here in Jersey, for us here in the Northeast, that's a perfect time of year to be doing it. It's the ideal time of the year. Of course, maybe for folks down south might not be a good idea, but better than the spring, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think I'm looking forward to it. It's registration starts in August, and people can start raising money as soon as they register. So we've had people that have had $1,000 already raised before the event even started in September. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'm hoping to get some really good publicity for it from all the different sponsors, and it's a lot of fun. You just basically keep a record of your mileage from the first day to the 50th day, and you report your mileage in, but you're basically riding it. Riding your bike wherever you want to go. Ride it, take a long trip, or just ride it back and forth to work. All those miles count towards the M5000.
All right, now so tell us about some of the events that you're going to be attending coming up. I see you're going to be at. You said you're going to be at Barber Motorsports, and where's that? That's in October.
I'm not. I was at Barber a couple weeks ago.
In June. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I did a presentation there to their to the members and the board of Barber. That was great. And but I will be in I'll be in Sturgis.
Okay.
In a couple of weeks, and then I will be out to the AIM Expo, which is in Vegas.
Oh, good for you.
And then I'll be at the Long Beach IMS show. I will be in Daytona. Trying to think of if I've got anything else.
Are you going to be at the IMS show in New York City?
I was last year, and my guess is yes. I think it's in early December.
Yes.
I should be there. Yep.
I will see you there because I usually go to that every year. I will definitely see you there.
Awesome. Yeah, hopefully by then, let's see. That's December. I'll probably have at least 25 or 30,000 miles on the bike by then.
That's all?
Yeah, well.
Slacking off, are you? Is there? I'm sorry.
More places to ride to. So, if any of your listeners want me to do a presentation at their club, I pretty much will come and speak. Do an hour presentation. I think is painfully hilarious about the Ural, and pay my expenses to get there and pass the hat for my charity, and I'm there. So. Pretty much we'll work for food.
Well, while you mentioned that, let me ask the question. If somebody, organization did want to have you speak at an event that they were having, what would be their expense?
It all depends. I would like to get paid. I mean, I do need to make a living somehow. Mm-hmm. So if it's a for-profit, organization or something, I do ask for, a small fee, and then I look at how far away the event is from my home. If it's a 3-day ride and I've got to pay for 6 hotels on the way there and back, I've got to recoup that cost. So, I usually try to do expenses and so much per mile, or try to make it reasonable, or if I can fit it in with another event I'm doing. If I'm in Long Beach and somebody wants me to do a presentation and I'm already there, it's not going to be too expensive to have me come to speak to a group. To me, the larger the group, the better. Getting my message out, and if we can pass the hat for whatever charity that I'm working with, that's great for me. So
excellent. So people can get a hold of some Long Haul Paul swag from your website again, and that's available. You got T-shirts available, and if they wanted to donate, they can also go to your website as well. But how can people learn more about Long Haul Paul and follow your journey?
Well, right now, one of the things that I'm lacking is fiscal sponsors. I get a lot of gear. I get helmets, I get boots, I get all my gear is taken care of, which is awesome. But, I'm still spending $25,000 to $35,000 a year out of pocket for traveling, and I'm running out of pockets.
Wow, wow.
So one of the ways that I'm trying to earn new sponsors is by increasing my social media, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. The more people that are following me, the more people will tend to want to sponsor me.
Mm-hmm.
And I do need fiscal sponsors. It's not easy trying to keep this going, and because of all the traveling, obviously I can't hold a full-time job. So I would love to keep riding, and by following me on Facebook, YouTube, and those things really does make a huge difference to corporate sponsors. So long haul Paul, one word on Facebook and YouTube makes a huge difference, and obviously, or hopefully, I also hope that people actually enjoy some of my videos and my comments along the way. I think that I have a unique way of describing motorcycle travel, and hopefully people will enjoy following me.
Well, I'll tell you what, the Ural story just has me entranced. I really want to hear that. So if you have that on video, I will definitely be watching that. But I will be putting all of your information, contact stuff, all over the Motorcycle Men website and, of course, on the Motorcycle Men Facebook page. So there will be plenty of exposure there for you.
Well, that's awesome. I really appreciate it.
It's quite all right. I'm trying to do my part if I can. Paul, do you have any last comments or things, ways that people can be more aware of MS and how they can help?
Well, the MS 5000 is a great way to help, where you can contribute, and if you ride a motorcycle, or if you want to help and sponsor one of the other riders, that's a great way. I'd love to raise about 25 grand this year. That would make me real happy. Check out my stuff on Facebook and YouTube. If you have a family member with MS, or I have a lot of people contact me privately. I spend a lot of time speaking to a lot of neurologists all over the United States. If I don't have the answers, I know where to find them. And so people want to contact me with questions. I do my best to help out. The MS Society is a great website to find out about information from MS, about MS. It's a disease that does affect a lot of people, and it's a different course of the disease for every single person. So, sometimes somebody will look fine, and then you see them 3 weeks later, they're in a wheelchair, and then a month later, they're standing again. It's because MS is very unpredictable, right. And it affects everybody differently. So, I don't know what my people said, why are you riding 1 million miles for MS? And I said, well, I was at a patient event 5 or 6 years, 6, 7 years ago now, and I heard a doctor say a cure for MS was 1 million miles away. And so I thought, well, 1 million miles, that's a pretty far distance, but it doesn't mean it's not possible.
Right, exactly.
And,
nothing is impossible.
So that's where I am, and I'm a third of the way through.
But you're not going to stop, right? You're going to keep going, even when you reach that.
Stop.
Good.
Yeah.
All right.
Unless
then.
we find a cure. If we find a cure, I might stop, wash the bike for a week or something, take a week off.
Don't stop, man. Just keep going. I tell you, it's as you know, it's good for the heart, good for the soul. It makes you feel better.
It is. When I'm riding my motorcycle, I don't have MS.
That's right. You're a guy on a motorcycle at that point.
I'm afraid to get off sometimes.
I understand completely. Paul, listen, I want to thank you very much for joining me here on the Motorcycle Men podcast. Your story is absolutely wonderful, and I wish you a tremendous amount of luck. I will make sure that I have everything on Motorcycle Men website and Facebook page where people can get involved in your cause and what you're doing and support you. I think it's a wonderful thing you're doing, and I wish you a tremendous amount of luck.
Well, awesome. Thank you very much, and thank you for doing the bike ride every year. That's a great...
It's the least I can do. I think I'm going to sign up for that MS 5000.
All right.
I think I'm going to get involved in that. That sounds like a boatload of fun. I think I'm going to do that.
You might hurry. We're limiting the riders to 10,000 this year.
Oh, what? You're limiting us to 10,000. Only 10,000. Okay. I'll see what I can do about that.
Better hurry.
Paul, I want to thank you very much for joining me here on the Motorcycle Men podcast. Thank you.
Thank you, Ted.
Thank you for listening to this episode 156 with my guest, Paul Pelland, a.k.a. Long Haul Paul. Go over to longhaulpaul.com. That's longhaulpaul.com. That's one word there. To learn more, links to Paul's website will be on the Motorcycle Men website as well. Donate, participate, and help out all you can for those with MS. Don't forget to check out our fellow podcasters whose links you will find on our links page. All of these podcasts, YouTube channels, and bloggers, and many more out there do great things to promote and encourage our sport and our passion. So they deserve your attention just as much as we get it. So from Timbuktu, Chris the Joker, and Justin Shoes, and me, Ted Wrongway, your host, there's the Motorcycle Men podcast. Thank you very much for listening. And this is where we say stupid crap so you don't have to. Enjoy your ride, kids.